All right, folks, it looks like Bitcoin just refuses to break through that 86K key resistance. I've been telling you guys, Bitcoin just would not break through. And why would it not break through? Well, because the stocks are not confirming that breakthrough. So what's going to happen next? Boy, have we got a huge episode for you. Look at this, right? We're going to go through and look at the Bitcoin long-term holders and the short-term holders and what signals do they give. Usually they can give some pretty good insights about those Bitcoin whales and those long-term Bitcoin investors and what they're doing right now. Okay, so first, let's get to Bitcoin itself. We've seen Bitcoin make 7 attempts this entire week, making attempts to break through, but it can't break through. Why is that? Well, if you've been watching my videos, if you're in my Discord, if you've been reading my Twitter, any of that, then you'd know that is because the stock market is not confirming. Look how similar these two trend lines are, the breakdown, right? I mean, Bitcoin even bottomed the same day on the 7th of April at 74K as the stock market. You tell me that's just a coincidence? The breakdown, the bottom on the same day, and now both, right, are finding it difficult to break through. Even if a Bitcoin does break through here, I would think we need the SP 500 to also confirm that breakthrough as well. And also we would need, NASDAQ to confirm as well. So Bitcoin just going off on its own is not good enough. And now we're going to look at some of those big Bitcoin long-term holders and short-term holders and see what they're up to, see if we can get any major clues from them. But before we do, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo He-Man use? Well, Pablo He-Man uses this crypto exchange that is non-KYC. That means you basically don't need any ID. The exchange can't even see your ID. The exchange can't even see who you are. That means, of course, Americans can use it. That means the IRS can't see you. The FBI can't see you. The IRS, the tax office, nobody can see you, right? And up to $5,500 US. In fact, I think they've raised now to almost $8,000 US just for newcomers joining and trading, but only on this link. This is the Pablo He-Man deal with Bitunix, only on this link. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, then the link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. However, if you're watching this on another platform, such as this one, then basically just go to my profile page and just click on the Stan link right there. And then basically that'll take us straight to my Stan link page. And Bitunix is the first deal right there. Okay, now let's get back to the markets. But remember, folks, this deal is only on the Pablo He-Man link. Only on the Pablo He-Man link. Okay, so whilst the stocks don't confirm, then basically Bitcoin is stuck. And as I said, even if Bitcoin was to break through 86K, and if the stocks don't confirm with a breakthrough and hold above as well, especially in the weekly, then I'd be worried about Bitcoin doing this as a fake out. Now, let's have a look, as promised. Look at the major long-term holders and short-term holders of Bitcoin and see if they can give us any clues. And you can see instantly this is a very, very helpful chart because see the blue lines is the long-term holders, unrealized losses. So when they have huge losses, but they don't sell, unrealized, and when it spikes up, right, and they're holding a lot of unrealized losses and not selling. Look at this. Bitcoin bottoms. Huge, right? Losses, unrealized, and they don't sell. Bitcoin bottoms, right? That was when Bitcoin was at 3,000 from memory. This was when Bitcoin was at 15,000 bottom in 2022. December 2022, and this was the big spike up in blue. So what does it look like right now? Well, right now it's still flat. And what does that mean? In the past, when it goes flat, we've seen bear markets come, right? So that means there's almost no unrealized losses for these long-term holders. But at other times when it goes flat, right, we've seen bull markets continue to run. Here it goes flat, bull market continues to run. So this, even though this is a very useful metric, it doesn't quite give us any clues. But however, don't ignore this because The red are the short-term holders, unrealized losses. They have a much bigger signal for us. Let's have a look at the unrealized losses of short-term holders, okay? So what do we notice here? Already it's spiked up, so that's a lot of pain for short-term holders, right? They're in a lot of pain right now. So basically, and it's unrealized losses. That means, they haven't sold yet. They bought 108K, 105K, 100K, and they're holding, right? And they're not selling yet. So it's a lot of unrealized losses. But however, look at the last few times when this kind of spike happened. I mean, this is not even as high as where we are now, but that indicated the bottom to Bitcoin at 49K. That was August last year. Very good signal. This time, big spike up. This was around the collapse of FTX. This was when Bitcoin was at 20K. Didn't pick the exact bottom for Bitcoin, but however, it did come kind of close, right, roughly to that area. But you still had to wait another 3-4 months for it. This time, well, at least this time, there was kind of a bounce. Not a huge bounce, but I remember this was more like bouncing from like 38K to like 48K. Okay, this time, this is the one time where it was actually higher than the current amount of pain we felt right now. And that was, of course, when Bitcoin fell to from 64K to 28.5K. And that was back in July 2021. Of course, major bottom and bull market continued up to 69K. This time was March 2020, COVID, lots of a sharp rise in unrealized losses for short-term holders, and that was the immediate bottom, like March 15th, 16th, 2020, and then Bitcoin has gone on a 16x run since then. This big spike again picked the bottom of Bitcoin, right? This spike here also picked a small bottom, and that's actually a big bounce, but if we were to enlarge that area. So if we go back past 2018, 2019, these picked small bounces, right? But they didn't give us anything significant. Whilst these three, not as big as this one, but they picked these bottoms. And these were like 20% pullbacks during a bull trend. So overall, something like this is actually helpful. You can never rely on any signal 100%, but this is a helpful signal that tells us that, hey, Bitcoin could, just looking at those charts, I would say Bitcoin probably has a 70% chance of 65-70% chance of making some sort of intermediate term bottom here, and we're headed for a bounce, right? Hopefully above 92K, because once we clear 92K, then 100K is in sights. Then even higher targets are quite possible. Now today I'm going to show you guys one more chart. This is a chart that I just noticed today, and I think it's another way of looking at the markets, and it can give us more confidence in what Bitcoin is doing here. So if we were to link up the previous highs at 64K, this is March 21, November 21, we hit 69K, link up those two, then link up the 73K, right? 73K top that was achieved in, I think this is March. This is, March 2024, right? If we were to link up those significant highs, and guess what? It gave us this bottom here that we just had at 74K. I was calling for 73K, right? Ever since it broke down from 92 here, I said, that's going to 73K. Finally, it hit 74, okay, close enough by my standards. So that gives us one more reason to think, well, this 73, 74K area is solid, and we should at least get a big bounce here. Something like 97, 100K, that should at least happen, right? Because even if a new all-time high does not happen, we should at least get a bounce here because of how significant this level is. And that's why I picked 73K, because this is where 73K is. We got kind of pretty close to 74K. You have this horizontal level of support because that was the old high. You also have this trend line, and that's a very significant trend line because you're connecting the tops three tops over a matter of 4 years. These are historical highs. These are three historical highs: 64K, 69K, 74K, and boom, gave us support again. 73K, sorry, gave us support again at 74K. So that gives us another reason to think we should have at least the bounce here. And of course, we can say this till the cows come home, and we can keep on saying, oh, we should have a bounce here, we should have a big bounce here. But it all depends on what Trump's trade policy is on a day-to-day basis, even on a weekly basis. So fingers crossed. Let's hope Trump doesn't pull anything crazy. Hopefully he can get a deal with China. We'll get even, maybe not even a finalized deal, even just news of the Chinese confirming, yep, we're in discussion with Trump, and Trump says, yep, we're in discussion with the Chinese, and both sides, yep, saying progress being made, we should have a deal soon, progress being made, a very good deal is coming out soon. Even something like that would move the markets along, perhaps help SP 500 and NASDAQ to break through the massive resistance it has, and that big line of resistance, and also help Bitcoin to break that 86K barrier as well. Then 92K after that, and then I would think at least a big bounce above 100K. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.